Welcome to another edition of the Bullheaded Podcast. I'm your host, per usual, Sean Tyson, here with Zoo and Peebush. How you guys doing?
Oh man, closing on the NBA season. Closed out the NCAA season last night, man. As filming on Tuesday. Entertaining basketball, but I'm ready for NBA playoffs, man. I'm ready for NBA playoffs.
All I gotta say, the power of the AP poll trend,
There
man.
you
It's
go.
strong in this one, man. I'm telling you. Based on my list, man. It would have been a little tougher if it was Duke versus Kansas because both of them fit the criteria. But this year, North Carolina, they were nowhere in the top 12. They weren't even in the top 25 in those weeks. So
Made a bad start.
Yeah, exactly. So they had a really, really rough start. So Kansas was able to pull it off. Biggest comeback in NCAA finals history. Shout out to the Kansas Jayhawks, man. But the power of the trend, man. Oh, man, don't bet against it. That's all I got to say, man. If you don't know anything about college basketball, don't bet against it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
19 years running.
It definitely was a tale of two halves, I would say, in the national championship game. That's where we're going to start with college basketball. Is the Blue Bloods were in there. I mean, most people will say Villanova is probably out of those three teams in the Final Four, kind of the lesser of the Blue Bloods, but they're still considered a basketball Blue Blood. So in terms of just big brands, that's what it was in the final. And, we got North Carolina and Kansas. Like I said, if you just watched the first half and you went to bed, because that's another gripe I got with the NCAA. Why do we have this game on Monday night and it has to be at 9 p.m.? I know they think about the West Coast, but it's like put it on a weekend. But people were actually arguing me yesterday saying that, well, like the Grammys. Me personally, I don't watch any of the award shows, like unless it's a huge moment like the Oscars had. Yeah, like it's just I don't watch those shows, so it's like I don't think it would be in competition with. I mean, it would be in competition with those award shows, but it's like I think they would hold its own weight if it was like on a Sunday night at 9. So that's just another gripe I've had. I just hate that the game is that late. But if you went to bed at halftime, you probably would have just woke up thinking North Carolina won, but. Kansas ended up prevailing, and they, like I think Zoo pointed out, it was the biggest, I guess, lead at halftime that they overcame, which is 16 points. It just seems like kind of low,
and it got erased quickly.
Yeah.
Pretty much right away.
It wasn't like the entire second half. It was like a slow comeback. It was like 5 minutes. I feel like.
Yeah. So I kind of wanted to ask the guys what were their thoughts on the championship game, and I guess the tournament as a whole. And Peebush, I'm gonna start with you.
Well, first, I mean, the UNC Duke game, shout out Coach K for his career, just absolutely built a program from pretty much the bottom up. I liked the way he kind of ended off. I did watch like his final little, post-game press conference there. I thought he gave some great answers. Shouting out Baycott too, who unfortunately got injured towards the end of that game, which I think had a little bit of an effect in the Kansas championship game. But yeah, man, I mean, I thought Villanova, I thought they actually fought a little bit harder for how nearly perfect Kansas was playing in that game in the Final Four. I mean, Kansas wasn't missing. Ochai started 6 for 6, all 6 from 3. I mean, what can you do when a team's shooting 50% from 3? They answered by shooting 46% from 3. I mean, Colin Gillespie single-handedly kept them in that game. I know Slater had a decent game, but man, if your team's that hot, which we've seen Nova teams in the past get that hot, even against Kansas teams. But look, man, Kansas was easily the better of those two teams. I do think Duke was the better of the two teams going in, but Banchero got no help there towards the end of that game. I do know that I think Trevor Keels did come off the bench and played pretty well. Hit a couple big threes to keep them in that game. But Caleb Love, man, he did his thing in that Final Four match.
Love is in the air.
A love is in the air. A little less love last night, though. Let's be honest. So, in regards to the championship game, UNC, hell of a season, man. I know he was an assistant under Roy Williams, Hubert Davis, but to do that, especially with the season start that they had, hell of an impressive season. I think that this will definitely help their program going forward in the recruiting sense, because they haven't been pulling as big of names in years past couple years. Shout out Baycott, man. He carried from the free throw line. He went 3 for 10, but he kind of kept them in free throws. And shout out to Cam Johnson's little brother, Puff Johnson.
Yeah, I saw that guy.
He was the reason they were in it.
I looked at the game. I was like, "Is that Cam Johnson out there?" I was like, I thought he played for the Phoenix Suns, right? He looks exactly like him.
That or Jackson Mahomes, but yeah, I mean, he kept them in the game. Caleb Love and RJ Davis definitely were struggling there towards the end. Baycott obviously just couldn't get his feet underneath them. And McCormick just ended up kind of dominating. We'll talk about the foul calls. I thought there were some, there were some moments where Kansas was getting a lot of calls and then a lot where UNC was getting a lot of calls. So I guess you can't really say it was an unfair game.
Yeah.
I do wish it was a little bit better of an ending. They got gifted a chance when he stepped out of bounds.
Oh yeah,
that Kansas player.
Thank God. Oh.
Yeah, that's a classic college basketball move.
Yeah.
You're up. All you got to do is get the ball in bounds, and you pretty much guarantee a win. Nope.
I don't think it's worse than Chris Webber's moment because they were up 3 in the moment, but that's a brain fart play. But once again, I thought UNC took a couple bad 3-pointers there towards the end.
Yeah.
Just kind of getting desperate. And that was the first moment of inexperience I think I saw out of them the whole tournament.
Yeah, man. It's crazy because, I don't know, Final Four, I don't know about you, but Nova, I saw Nova losing so obviously, man. I was shocked they made it to the Final Four. I just don't think they're that talented.
They really never are.
Yeah, I'm looking at the roster. I don't think there's a single NBA talent on the roster. I'm shocked they made it to the Final Four. Like Kansas at least got one dude at least going pro this year. Maybe in future years, maybe another pro, but currently only one pro this year. So Kansas, that did not shock me at all. But that dude UNC, man, my Lord. Those games are always so beautiful to watch.
Yeah.
Beautiful to watch. Up and down. Like, man, Sean, you called it. Man, this Caleb Love guy, man,
he's got something to him, man.
He got a little bucket getting him, man. I don't know if he's a true point guard. Like, I don't think he's a true PG, but this guy, he's a bucket. He's a bucket. Like, I still remember that one layup. He just went in and he like floated in. With
Kobe White.
It's kind of like a little jelly.
Yeah, a little jelly on that. I'm like, man, this guy looks like a little. He wants to go for that like 6-man type of guy off the bench, like probably a little inefficient, but he's gonna be jacking up shots, like trying to get you a bucket. That Jordan Clarkson prototype type of dude. So hopefully he gets an opportunity in the pros. But man, oh man, but in the championship game, man, remind me a little like in the Gonzaga last year, man. That UCLA game took a lot out of them.
Yeah.
Took everything, 100%. Like they pushed to the limits the game before. Yep. So I think the game after they ran out of gas. They came out strong. They came out strong in the first half, dominating. I was shocked. Dominating, man. But then the second half, they ran out of gas. Obviously, the love ran out, man. He ran out of gas. He shot awful from the field. Yeah. Like, the crazy part is he shot so awful from the field. 5 for 24, man. Like 24? 5 for 20. Yeah, man. Dude, he had an awful game, and they were still in the game.
Him and RJ. Yeah. They combined for 10 of 41 from the field last night.
So less than 25%. And you shoot like that, and you're still in the game. So if they actually had average games, not even great games, they would have won the game. Yeah. But they obviously had their worst game of the tournament, I would say. And they lost to Kansas Jayhawks, and that took advantage. And I didn't think the Kansas Jayhawks played that good. Like, first half, a little embarrassing. Second half,
foul trouble.
Yeah, exactly. And they turned it around. Like, I'm just like, it's impressive. Like, mental toughness coming back from that many points down to come back against this UNC team, because UNC had all the momentum with the Duke win and coming in the first half. But Kansas Jayhawks shot the Bill Self, man, getting another championship. Yeah, man.
Shout out Remy Martin, man. He was the difference maker towards the end of that game.
Those threes, I think those threes really kind of set it off. Yeah.
He put up 11 on 100% shooting on just 4 shots in the second half, man. That'll give you that one little boost. But yeah, man, I think UNC, I think the other thing was, UNC did, they did get McCormick into foul trouble early. And I think that was huge, and they didn't take advantage of it. I know Baycott couldn't be as dominant, but I thought that was definitely not a miscue, but maybe something that they didn't necessarily see or didn't take advantage of enough, because they could have gone at him either, early in the second half and tried to draw a foul. Refs might have been a little hesitant. I think they gave him his 4th with like 5 minutes left. But if they could have gotten more attacking on him, even just driving, it doesn't need to be Baycott. I think they could have gotten the edge. But then again, man, a 3-point game, anything can change that game.
Yeah. What I kind of hate about college basketball, and this happened a little bit in the game, but it happens not even just in the championship game, but just overall, I hate how they officiate the charge call. They're so bad at it. And if you watch, I want you guys next time when you watch a college basketball game, especially if it's a bigger game, watch the ref and his reaction when he calls the charge. It's almost like they get a feeling of like they did something great calling a charge call, and it really kills the game. Like, it doesn't, and that's why, like, if you watch college basketball as much as you watch the NBA, people always say, well, the athletes are better, which is true. And, they're professionals, so they're going to be better. But a lot of it is because players are not as aggressive and the floor is not as open because the charge call really messes up a lot of momentum in games. And to me, it's like if you're letting the charge call kind of dictate how the game goes, it's a hard watch. I think that's why I was more. I mean, the championship game was straight, but I think I was just more interested in Duke UNC because one, it was a better game, and two, the charge call wasn't a huge factor. I just feel like when Kansas started their run coming back, I knew because like if you watch college ball, I knew Kansas. Like people are saying this over. I said no, they're coming back. They're going to get foul calls and they're going to get charge calls. And what happened was the fouls were legitimate fouls, but like a lot of those charge calls that is getting it's like. So then it's like you knew the runs were going to happen. I do think if Baycock was fully healthy, I think they probably could have won because a lot of points were left on the board from just Baycock missing, his free throws and things. Now McCormick was missing his too, but Baycock usually is at least 50 to 60%, so he could have made a couple more that maybe would have made the game a little bit closer. And I also think Manick, if you watch the beginning of the game, he got knocked in the head like a couple of times.
Twice.
Where he might have not have been all the way there. Like I know he made those 2 threes, but that was probably off adrenaline. Like I don't think that was off of like just he was, was in his right mind. So
he fell over on the last play too.
Yeah, he was stumbling, which I didn't know if he got tripped or what he got.
I don't know
what happened
because that was a bad shot they took, and I don't know if they were trying to run something for him.
Shot like an NBA 3, and
he trained him too much with Lillard.
Guys on him. Yeah, something was going on with that, and they still almost had a chance because they got the rebound, and then Manick, I think he threw it to Leaky Black, and it kind of was a bad pass, so it just kind of ricocheted off. But just in terms of trends and how the games went, I liked how both teams battled and was able to get back into making a competitive game towards the end. I just think, and people forget too, Caleb Love, that second half, I think part of the reason why his shots were so bad is he rolled his ankle, and you could just tell he was not getting to the rim and finishing like he should have, because he was waving the guy off. Like I don't know, I think Puff Johnson was coming in.
He was going to go out,
waving him off. Yeah, and he kept waving him off. I was like, no, you need to go sit down. But I guess it's like if you sit down on that ankle, it may blow up, and then you might not be able to go back in. So he probably just but once he got hurt, I kind of figured, I was like, I don't think they're gonna have enough because RJ wasn't cooking. And I don't know if you guys watch how RJ, like, he's got a really good shot, but he just doesn't have that second gear to blow by guys.
No.
So it's kind of like with, Kansas.
He's a wannabe Chris Paul.
Yeah, he's a little bit more of a shorter guy he's a short 2 guard to me, which I still like his NBA potential because I just like how he plays. But, I think when Caleb kind of turned his ankle and Baycock just didn't see himself, I was just like, I don't think UNC could hold on. So, in terms of just NBA guys, I think Caleb has the best potential out of everybody on the court. I still think he's just a guard. He's not going to be a point. Now, he could go to the right coach and he could transform him into a point, but his mentality is to score. So
scoring.
I think he has
UNC.
He just has the ability to get his shot off. He has a nice, his shot in terms of like motion doesn't look crazy. I think he could become something to where he could maybe max out as a 6th man on a really good team somewhere. Like I said, that UNC, and even if he doesn't have like the greatest NBA career, he's going to be in UNC. That shot is right there with Michael Jordan's shot, literally, and just in terms of, and it might be even better because the stakes of it, like
Final Four,
you retired Coach K, and you was the guy that made the shot to do that. Like you're going to be in UNC. Like you're not Michael Jordan, but you're going to be up there in terms of just like moment. So regardless of what happens in the NBA, he has a hell of a. I mean, he could, if he wants to go into coach and do whatever, like he has a lot of things going in his favor in terms of the UNC fan base. So I think UNC overall in the tournament just played a little bit above their head. Their guards came to play in most of the tournament games, and shout out to Hubert because, a lot of people were saying, well, UNC was playing over their heads, but I think Hubert, that's different from Roy's. He runs more NBA type stuff. Because when Roy was coach, he was very focused on the big man. Like that's why because if you think about UNC, they've always had a lot of really, really, really good big men. They've had good guards too, but their big man has usually been the focal point. But I think, when Hubert got in, I guess because he was a guard that played in the NBA, he was like, no, guard to where it's at. So he emphasized RJ and Caleb, and the guys that they got coming in too, they're pretty. And there's some guys on their bench that are not as highly rated as I guess you could say RJ and Caleb, but they can go. They got a lot of guys that can score. So I think that style of how he plays is why UNC was able to maybe I guess, flip a switch and get through the tournament. So, yeah, it was, to me, it was just a game of runs, and it's cool. I just hate how college is officiated. It's just hard to watch. Because in the NBA, think about an NBA game and just count how many charge calls you see. It's not a lot.
Well, nobody wants to put their body on the line. There's not as much passion in the NBA. Let's be honest. They're there to do a job, not to.
And I still think though, like, a charge call to me is just a bailout. I hate the call because it gives at defenders who are not that athletic. If you can just kind of get there and fall back, like, yeah, you're falling down, but I feel like if you're a defender, guard them. Stop getting a charge. Now, I understand the restricted area. I get that because you can't just have people barreling everywhere. But, like, I hate because it just, to me, like, it bails the defender out.
I think I don't have any problem with it if you're actually face guarding the guy, because that means you're shuffling his feet and you're actually predicting his moves better than himself. Yeah. If you can get in front of him and he's going to – and when somebody gets in front of you, you naturally want to lower your shoulder to get by them, right? That's how you get an angle. So that's a charge. What I think I have a problem with is – and I think college players do this a lot, is when they're on the offensive side, they don't look for charges. I think if college players looked for charges more, they just kind of like barrel and then pass the ball and then they run into the guy and it's a charge, right? Well, you got to stop and then make the pass. I mean, you see that all the time. But I agree. I mean, I think it's the most arbitrary call you can make in basketball is a charge block call. Yeah. And it does affect in a big game like that. Yeah, of course they're going to be heightened. But if you're willing to, I think as a defender, do that, and you have the skill to stay in front of them, you were just quicker than them. You deserve that.
Yeah. So, next year there's going to be the same teams are going to be up there. I think Kansas do. We'll see. Gonzaga is going to have a lot to prove. So we're definitely going to be looking out for that in terms of who's going to be the sleepers. And, of course, with, the new recruits coming in, it may switch the, I guess the power. I mean, the Blue Bloods are always going to – Kentucky's another team that also has a lot to prove. Kentucky and Gonzaga definitely have a lot to prove. Man, it would be nice if they were in the title game next year. Yeah,
they're like they
have a lot.
Cowboys, man. They got the brand, they got the talent, but they don't get.
Nah, for real. Yeah, for real. I will give them credit though. They have at least won since somewhat recently. Dallas hasn't won a damn thing since the '90s, so that's kind of tough. Man. That's tough. But if Coach Cal,
they're a freaking NBA team. My lord, that team was.
Coach Cal might have to. You know what Coach Cal might have to do is how North Carolina has kind of shifted to where North Carolina gets like maybe a fringe one and done guy and a bunch of really good players. He may have to change to that model because I think just amassing a bunch of NBA talent it's not working because it's just not. He's not getting the best out of them. So I don't know. And the tournament, the tournament's just hard. It's hard. You just got to get hot, and sometimes you just don't figure it out. But we'll see how that goes down. For this next topic, speaking of the NBA, we'll be going over our all NBA teams. Now, we chose to do 3 because of they do 2. We do know the season's not over, but it's over. Like, right now, there's nothing that nobody's going to be able to do to be like, oh, maybe that switches my mind. But we're going to have a, breakdown of all of our teams as a collective. Like I said, there's 3 of them. Do we kind of want to do it like the draft, or do we just want to? How do we want to do it?
Now we should go all first team right now. All NBA first team. I think
this before the
Zoo, who's yours?
All NBA first team because I'm using by position because sometimes there's some finessing right now where you can.
I did finesse, but it's on the third team.
Embiid as a forward. I'm like, nah, he is.
I didn't do that. No.
Center is a center for me, but I think forwards you can move between small and
small forward. So for me right now, I got Luka Doncic lock as a guard. Lock. I didn't even need to think about Devin Booker lock. I'm gonna reward him for the Phoenix Suns. This dude without CP3 this year, and they were bullying team.
Yes.
Yeah. Chris Paul without Chris Paul, who people thought last year was an MVP candidate. Stop it. They're good without him. This team is so damn good. Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder, like DeAndre Ayton. This team they're by far the best team in the NBA this year, and Devin Booker is the best player on that team, so I'm going to reward Devin Booker. Nice. And he's putting up 26, 5, and 5. That's no laughing matter either. So I think for those guys, for me, that was an easy decision. Giannis at the forward position. Come on, man, this dude. especially after these
Could
past
win another
weekend, man.
MVP.
My lord, if he wins MVP this year, I won't even be mad. Not my pick this year, but I could totally understand if you vote Giannis MVP because his defensive ability, his help defense is incredible.
Yeah.
When he's off the ball, he comes out KD trying to shoot a game where he helps double team, perfect timing, long arms, amazing defender. And then my other forward is going to be Jayson Tatum. Jayson Tatum this year, 27 points, elevated his game to a superstar level, man, leading the Boston Celtics. Ooh, they were off to a rough start, but Jayson Tatum, man, the best player on the team right now in the center position, Nikola Jokic, man. I think he's my MVP this year, so I'm going to put him as All-NBA first team. No disrespect to Joel Embiid, but Jokic this year, he leads every analytic, man. Every analytic favored Jokic. When he's off the court, the Nuggets are ass, man. They're booty cheeks, man.
They really are, though.
They do,
man.
Aaron Gordon is your best player without this dude. Come on, man. Like
Will Barton.
Yeah, Will Barton. Will Barton. My lord.
Give you 25 some nights.
Dude, my lord. This Jokic guy dropping 38 points on Anthony Davis like it's nothing, man.
Street clothes.
My lord. Dude, my goodness. Oh, yeah. So that is my All-NBA first team, man.
All right, Zoo. I respect. I actually have the same two guards. I have Luka and I have Devin Booker.
Mm-hmm.
Contemplated putting Ja in there, but I think he's missed a little bit.
Too many games. Too many games.
Mm-hmm. So those are my two guards who I agree. I got DeMar DeRozan as my small forward, all NBA first team. I just think the performances he's put up, especially with Levine out, he was definitely the one that was out of the two stars more so this year. You got even though they've kind of fallen off a little bit.
I would have added him, but the Bulls have fallen off a lot.
Yeah, because then I have Giannis as power forward. Completely agree with you, Zoo. Absolute stud. And then I am also rewarding Jokic just because of his stats. I know Embiid has a better record technically, but what Jokic has been able to do pretty much entirely by himself all year.
It is solo
without MPJ for maybe except 5 games. He was out pretty early, and obviously no Jamal Murray all year. So that's my starting.
That's 40 points. That's 40 points.
I don't think
Jamal's coming
back either, which sucks.
Yeah, exactly. So
Jokic
the only difference, I guess, Zoo, is you got Jason in there and I got DeMar at our small forward position.
Yeah, man. Gotcha. Yeah, that's understandable, but man, oh man.
I think so. For mine, I have, and this is I blame this on how Josh started the season. It's just hard for me to see, and I know he missed a lot of games, but just how he started and like the impact he had with Memphis, just coming out and just them being like, oh, they could actually maybe get to the Western Conference Finals. I put him on the first team because it's just I can't get that out. I just can't get it out of my mind. Devin, I got it this shooting guard position, which you can say shooting guard.
Oh, you don't have Luke. You don't have the Don. Oh, you don't have the Don who's putting up 28, 8 and 8. The guy
put up a triple-double.
Entire offense.
He's always put up a
He runs
triple-double.
the entire. He turns Spencer Dinwiddie into a stud.
That is
Spencer Dinwiddie.
Spencer's been solid.
No, he was awful on the
Washington
Wizards.
Was just so toxic. I think Washington is just so.
He was awful on the Wizards.
Good on the Nets, though.
Yeah. Yeah, he was.
Who's the other guy? Who was the other guy that got traded from the Wizards? The tall guy I always make fun of.
Bertans.
Yeah,
that dude's been awful.
I think he's like better than he was with the Wizards. I think the Wizards are just a bad program. Bertans is ass still, man. He's still ass, but he's
I don't think a little less ass.
Yeah, he's a little less ass than what he is. Devin, and like I say, I was kind of contemplating Booker and Luka just because Booker. I think his thing is he always gets the short end of the stick of like, we don't talk about him a lot because I don't know if it's because his game's not flashy. He's just an efficient scorer, whatever it is. But his team, if you think about finals teams, and usually the teams that go to the finals that next year, they're usually always kind of in the middle of the road and they have like a tough start. But Booker didn't do that. He's been consistent the entire year and his team has been one of the best in the league. So I had a reward for that. Giannis, Tatum's a guy for me who next year I want to see get an MVP because I think he has that type of potential in him. Boston started out slow, and you know what I think part of that was Udoka was just a new coach and trying
Yeah,
to
he was
figure
teaching
out
them his
how to
defensive system. His defensive system.
trying to figure it out. And I think we just, and I was part of that. I kind of overreacted. Like, you got to just get rid of Tatum and Brown, split them up. But
Same.
you just got to give them time. Give them time.
Man, stop it.
I do
those
think
those two guys are too good.
If they want to be a number one seed in the East, they need somebody else. I don't think necessarily now trading one of the two is a necessary thing to do.
No, you can't.
In order to get that player, they need to leverage something, because I do
trade your picks. Trade your picks.
Yeah, they have a lot of picks.
But see, they never do that. I don't know why they don't trade their picks.
Well, that's why That's why Danny Ainge.
Brad's there now.
That's why
Brad's
Brad better start trading those picks.
And I think
like
he
you
will.
say, yeah, they gotta. That to me, I love what Boston's doing, but I'm not a believer until I see it in the playoffs. I got to see them get back to a conference finals or get to a finals. I don't want to see them go out in the second round and then be like, well, we'll just build the draft. No, you need to trade those picks and get like a true point or something to build around Jayson and Jalen, because everybody keeps saying they're in their 20s. Like, well, 2 to 3 years from now, they'll be in their mid to late 20s. And if you're not getting to the finals, that's going to be a huge problem.
They're going to leave.
Yeah, or that they could leave that too. And with first team All NBA center, like, I just went with Embiid because I saw the 44-point game and was like, this dude's just nasty. Like, it's no win or lose with those teams. Like, yeah, it's just like that game. Like, I guarantee if I didn't happen to watch that game, I would be like, Jokic, because I watched the Jokic go against the Lakers and he was just dominant. It's just, you can't go wrong with either of those two. Like,
no,
either one is going to be doing the first or be on the first or second team. Unless you're a huge Karl Anthony fan.
Hopefully we get them most right, so these men can get their incentive bonuses and get on an All NBA first team, man.
How does do you think they structure it of just you have to be on an All NBA team, or first, second, and third? There's like different.
It doesn't matter. Just All NBA. It doesn't matter. It's All NBA. It could be third or first. You get the same.
15 best players.
Exactly.
True.
But man, All NBA second team, man, a little tougher.
So it's getting a little harder.
It's a little tougher.
This wasn't hard. This second team wasn't hard at all.
But this is Joel Embiid lock. I didn't even think about that. DeMar DeRozan for me lock as a forward, man. LeBron James lock as a forward.
Okay.
Lock as a forward. LeBron James 30 points. Obviously, the Lakers this year has been complete doo-doo, but dude's averaging 30 points on 50+% shooting at the forward position. That's for me is a lock. All NBA second team. The guard position, I got Ja Morant for me, even though he missed a lot of games. This guy putting up 27, 6,
This next one's going to be interesting.
And the last guard position, Trae Young. I'm putting Trae Young on All NBA second team. Man, I love Steph Curry, but his shooting the second half has been horrendous. One of the worst shooting halves of his entire life. Like Jordan Poole looking more like Steph Curry sometimes. Jordan Poole.
I got an interesting hot take about Jordan Poole.
Jordan Poole this year has come out. Like, we forget how young this guy is.
Putting him on third team?
Not Jordan Poole. No. But I'm telling you, this guy, when I watch him play, I'm like, this guy can be a 20-plus point scorer, like consistency. I thought he was just a little six-man type of dude, but he's really showing. He got a little dribble package. So right now, like Steph Curry, he's down there in the third team. But I'm avoiding Ice Trae because he's got Atlanta back in the playoffs again, man. He's pretty much locking up the 8th seed. Ice Trae's putting up 27 and 10. He's the entire Atlanta Hawks offense right now. Like, Atlanta this year is a mess. But with Trae Young, your offense is good just with Trae Young. He's a one-man offense.
Show.
So, exactly.
And he's still averaging 8 assists.
Yeah. No, 10 assists, man.
Is he up to 10 now?
Yeah, man. Yes, sir, man. Dude, I'm telling you, man. She's a true point, man. So I'm going to reward Ice Trae, man. Ice Trae.
I like that. Zoo, I don't think you're going to like mine. Pretty notable Villanova alum point guard. His name's Kyle Lowry, second team All-NBA. No, I'm just kidding. Also, I do want to slide that in, though, because I think he's actually the most notable Villanova NBA alum, and I think that's funny.
He might be.
That's a little sad, then. That's a little sad, then.
And a little bit better than Jalen Brunson, but either way. Zoo, once again, we got the same guards, man. Mm-hmm. I passed up on Steph for second team, obviously, just because of his injuries this year. Team's still doing fine, partially because of Jordan. And then I got LeBron at small forward. I mean, I think he's barely still holding on to the lead for
30.3 points, man.
I think Giannis might be at 30.2 or something like that.
Well, he plays against the Bulls tonight, so
okay,
he dropped 30.
He'll be fine. And then I got KD at power forward. I just think all that KD has gone through this year, he's still kept the Nets somewhat relevant in a conference that has much less easy games now than it has in years past, just because that bottom half is kind of a joke. But you look at that top 10 in the East, obviously including the Nets themselves, they're all solid teams that can beat you on any night. So I do got to throw KD in there. And then once again, Embiid is an absolute lock. There's really only 3 centers, I think, Jokic, Embiid, and maybe one other. So
it was pretty easy, man. It was pretty easy at this. There is a clear drop off at the center position.
But I do still got to give Ja his props, man. He absolutely stormed out of the gate, especially from that December through like February run. And obviously, pretty much the team's been carrying it forward for him since. But I've said this multiple times. I do think even though they're way above 500 against him, they might have 18-2 without him or something like that. I do think in the playoffs you still need him by far. You need a guy that you can go to, give the ball. We saw him do it to Curry last year in the play-in game by putting up 35, 7, and 7. So, Ja's definitely on my All-NBA second team, but I do think they need him back heavily in this next 10 days or so if they really want to make a push to that Western Conference.
Lie. This injury, people say, don't worry. If I'm a Memphis Grizzlies fan, I'm worrying.
Yeah.
I am worrying.
They keep pushing it back.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I'm just like, man, like Ja Morant, the way he plays, man, he just looks like an injury. Like I say, he reminds me of D Rose. So every time this dude's not playing, I'm worried. And Memphis should be worried, even though they're like winning 90% of their games without him.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is wild.
Yeah. I agree with people. It's the playoffs are about stars. So the 18-2 is cool, but when it comes to playoff basketball, the refs call it differently, and stars is that's why you pay your stars is to show up in the playoffs. So yeah, they're definitely gonna need Ja. For me, my second team, I put Luka and Trey at my guard spots. You know what's crazy? I was looking at their like just stats and stuff, and they're like right neck and neck with each other in like PER in terms of how the player efficiency things. I thought that was kind of crazy. And Trey, to me, like he really has an argument for first team because I just can't get over how as a small guard he's almost averaging 30 and 10. Mm-hmm. It's insane to me.
Yeah.
And like if you look at the Hawks, you take him off the Hawks would probably be like at the bottom third of the East.
They'd be rivaling the Magic.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Like so he's a huge impact in terms of how he plays with the Hawks. For me, forward spots I got Durant and LeBron. They're both basically averaging 30. Teams have been doing well, but it's all NBA. They just continue to score and they continue to impact their team and do what they need to do. So I feel like that was a no-brainer. And then I got Jokic as my center. Like you say, him and Embiid are the only 2 guys that you really could flip and it just would not matter. They're just 2 of the more dominant centers, and it would be really cool. Don't think it'll happen this year with a finals matchup, but it would just be cool to see 2 big guys playing a huge stage like that because they're not just the big guy in terms of, these are just burly guys who get points in the post. Like they can dribble. Jokic is basically a point forward, point center. Skill. So it would be really interesting to see something that would be a little bit different from the traditional guards or forwards or whatever. So
I'm just like these centers that we're watching. Like I think I said this like a year ago. These guys are all-time centers, man. When you make an all-time centers list, Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic, when their career's over, they will be in there. Like Joel Embiid or Bill Russell.
Time Zoo likes big
Joel Embiid or Bill Russell, stop it. Joel Embiid would eat him.
Bill Russell keeps getting greater as he gets older. Yeah.
Nikola Jokic versus Bill Russell. Oh my lord, man, disrespectful. He's like better than Bill Russell at everything. My lord, Nikola Jokic. Even his defensive stats. Yeah, his defensive stats this year. Like he's like leading the league in like blocks and steals like combined this year. Like the freaking Jokic is like got his hands on the ball on defense too now. I'm just like this dude's ridiculous, man.
On both sides of the ball.
Like this guy is ridiculous. Like I don't even know how he's that good because he got in shape. He stopped drinking this 2 liters of Coke every day, man. Shout out to Jokic, man. But
fine by the
man, Zion needs to learn. Maybe switch from Mountain Dew to Coke.
Take notes.
Man, take some notes from Nikola Jokic because my lord, this dude. We're watching a legend. Like this guy as an unathletic guy, we're watching a legend, man. But moving on to All NBA third team, man. Karl Anthony Towns, lock, easy. Karl Anthony Towns is easy. Steph Curry, easy. I'm putting him as my guard. Donovan Mitchell, lock. So those 2 guards for me, man. Steph Curry, Donovan Mitchell. Even though the Utah Jazz not having the best season, but Donovan Mitchell still averaging 26 points. And this guy, as we can see, this guy's a dynamic performer in the playoffs. So this guy is a one-man show on offense. So Steph and Donovan for me. Kevin Durant, he's only on All-NBA third team because he's missed so many games this year, again, from injuries and COVID situations. So I got KD in there. And my last forward spot, man. Like a forward, man, the forward position this year with a lot of injuries, man. I don't want to put this guy on my.
It's not a lot.
Dude, I don't want to put this guy on my team, man. Like I look at all the other guys, and then this drop off to Pascal Siakam. Pascal Siakam. I'm looking at the list. I'm like, man, the forward drop off is so high. I'm putting him in there, man. He's obviously the best player for the Toronto Raptors, who's surprisingly having a solid season this year right now.
Yeah,
like they're supposed to be a rebuild.
Him and Fred.
Team. Yeah, him and Fred VanVleet, man. But yeah, I'm not feeling so good about ICP being an All NBA third team. But
I did remove him from mine, Zoo.
You did
on second pass through. I was like, you know what? He's a solid player, but is he individually a reason, partially, why that team's winning? Yeah,
I feel like Nick Nurse and his defensive philosophies
and Fred hitting timely shots. You know, Scotty Barnes' development. You know, we talk about him all the time. But Zoo, Donovan Mitchell, agree with you. Still a good team in the West. You know, like you said, primary scorer. His second option is pretty much Jordan Clarkson. And Rudy Gobert, as we all know, is not an offensive weapon. Shooting guard, I got Zach LaVine in there. I got 2 Bulls. I think it does get rather thin, so I got 2 Bulls on the All NBA.
But Zach,
teams. Yep. I do think Zach has had flashes. You know, he's had, he did have injuries, but I just think looking at the options, at guard, it's like, him, Dejounte Murray, Spurs, it's not like they're really doing much. At least the Bulls are probably going to stay out of the play-in game, hopefully. Small forward / power forward. I got Jayson Tatum in there. I obviously got to give him his props. I just think that, what LeBron has done individually, what KD's done individually, DeMar, obviously, I think you could argue against Jayson. But I still think he's obviously an All NBA All NBA team this year, with how well the Celtics have rebounded mainly. And then I do got to give Jimmy Butler, and that's kind of, I know it's slightly maybe a less value version of what Devin Booker has provided to the Suns. Jimmy Butler has done for the Heat this year. They're staying relevant and they're just beating teams, and it's clearly because of their defensive camaraderie. And we know who was the anchor on that team defensively. You could argue PJ or Bam Adebayo, but Jimmy Butler is the mind defensively on that team. So I got to shout him out. And then Kat, I agree with you. He's got to be that final center. Those are kind of the top 3 centers, and really there's a massive drop off after that point. So
yeah,
kind of running out of options.
Because right after that, you got Gobert, who's just a defensive guy.
Yeah, he would have been the
and Nikola Vucevic. Can't believe the center position there is a drop off.
Very dry for the center.
I do think the guards into the small forward area is kind of tough to pick on a third team this year, just with all the injuries. But I am not putting Steph Curry in my All NBA teams this year.
Wow,
so that's a first in a long time.
Wow,
that's surprising. Very surprising.
That is surprising, man. That is, I love my boy Zach, but after his injury, he hasn't been the same. He has been the same. His efficiency has gone down.
Steph?
And he's been very passive of attacking the basket. He's just more of a jump shooter. He's not shooting as efficient as last year. Last year, I had him as All NBA type guy because of his efficiency. This year, he's not as good this year as last year. Even though he's still putting up 25. Yeah. This dude, I don't think he has had his best year this year. He's putting up 25 a game. That's how good of a scorer this guy is. But that injury, hopefully gets that knee fixed up. But yeah.
Yeah, you look at Curry too. I mean, he's shooting 43% and Zach LaVine's shooting 48%. So I mean, it's if you're talking about,
I think I just give Steph a little bit more credit because he kind of kept it afloat with Draymond being out. And I guess you could say the same for Zach with Lonzo. I don't know. I'm not sure when Lonzo got injured. How long?
So many injuries.
Lonzo.
Yeah, man. I think for my third team, I fudged it because I was on Basketball Reference and looked at a guy's position and see if he's ever played that certain position. And I fudged it just to get this guy on here because I don't believe in the forwards. So for my 2 guards, I have Steph and Donovan Mitchell as my 2 guards. Donovan Mitchell, I think, is another guard that we just kind of forget about because he's in Utah and he's kind of just had the team's just a middle of the road team. But I do think Donovan Mitchell is a really elite. He has the ability to play with the guards that are in front of him. He just is in a different situation. But for me, what I did center is Karl Anthony Towns. But what I did at the forward position is I put DeMar as one of the forwards because on Basketball Reference it has him as a small forward. So I'm going to do that because I did want to have Siakam and Butler on the third team for 2 forward spots. So I chose between one of those two, and I just picked Siakam because he has a little bit better points and he shoots better from the field than Butler. Because Butler's shooting like 21% from 3. That is crazy.
Yeah, he's having his worst year shooting from 3. Yeah.
And I think his field goal percentage is lower than Siakam's. And his points is a little bit lower. It's not much, but it's a little bit. So I just gave the nod to Siakam. But it gets very dark after, the elite forwards. And I guess that just is the NBA in general. Like outside of guards,
and it's because of Kawhi Leonard being injured. Like Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, PG, obviously this year. Those guys are locked, like NBA caliber players.
I totally forgot about PG and Kawhi because they definitely would have been taking people's spots.
Yeah, absolutely. Like
the third team,
PG off of like a long layoff drops like 30 points his first game back. So I'm just like,
blows the lead against the Bulls too. That was great.
Shout out to DeMar DeRozan with the 50. 50 piece.
I think all of these teams are pretty solid. There's not a lot of argument. Like you say, a lot of people are going to have all these same players. It's just going to be where you position them. Yeah. And if you're going to get paid off of all NBA, as long as my name's on the list, I could. I guess people do keep up with who's had the most first team all NBAs, whatever. But if it's in my contract and I'm getting the check is cashing because I'm an all NBA, I don't care what team I'm on. Just put me on one of the teams.
Absolutely.
So, we're going to keep getting more in depth with the NBA because it's only a few games away into the playoffs, the play-in. Kudos to March Madness. It did what it was supposed to do this year. It does it every year, but it's not
shocked me this year. Oh, it shocked me with the champ.
A lot of great games. A lot of great games.
Upsets.
Yep. Shout out to St. Peter's again. You guys did what you had to do to get to the Elite Eight.
St. Peter's.
That killed a lot of brackets, man. That killed so many brackets, St. Peter's. And you see their guys transferred.
They're all transferring.
Yeah, they're all transferring. I wonder if
they got a little clout, man. They got a little clout, man.
Oh, the coach left.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, I wonder if he goes to
Seton Hall.
Yeah, Seton Hall.
He went to Seton Hall where he played.
Yeah. So we might see a couple of guys. We might see a couple guys that, come up and play with the guy, their head coach at Seton Hall. So that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, we're going to be shifting a lot of our focus into the NBA. Also want to kind of get people aware, NFL draft is right around the corner. A lot of kind of interesting storylines with I guess you could say the trenches with offensive and defensive linemen. So, and quarterbacks, of course, but they're just, I feel like, not as high up on boards, but they'll probably get drafted higher because that's just how it goes in the NFL. So we're going to be talking about that and kind of previewing some stuff with that. So make sure you guys tune in and on bullheaded_pod. Make sure you look for us on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, the whole nine. And for me, Sue and P. Bush, we're out.